Min-Kyu, a rich businessman, has an unusual illness. He suffers horrible rashes and loss of breath if he touches another human. Occasionally, he faints or dies. Due to his sickness, Min-Kyu can't approach ladies. For the same reason, he's been secluded for 15 years. Dr. Oh, his lone confidant, has tried to discover a cure but failed. He urges Min-Kyu to embrace his isolated existence and gives him a wristwatch that monitors his allergies. Normal is blue, mild is yellow, orange implies Min-airways cues are shutting, and red signifies he'll die in minutes, a severity he's never encountered. Professor Hong contacts Min-Kyu. He and his colleagues have developed a smart robot that can aid Min-Kyu with housework. She won't harm him as she's not human. 100 billion won buys this robot. Min-Kyu suspects a con, yet he visits Professor Hong out of curiosity. When he arrives, a lovely robot greets him. She's a He-3, a Professor Hong's AI robot. Min-Kyu is shocked by her appearance, yet touching her doesn't affect him. Excited by the finding, he wants to acquire and invest in a He-3. Tomorrow he'll test the robot. The lab crashes that night. One of Professor Hong's team members pours coke in a He-3's core processor, shorting it. Professor and company are distraught since repairing the robot may take days. Professor Wong must come up with a fresh strategy if a He-3 isn't given to Min-Kyu the next day. He recalls Jia, the prototype of a He-3. Wong meets the robot he made after her. After an unpleasant meeting, he offers Jia 10 million won. She disguises herself as a He-3 for one day. Jia doesn't want to help her ex, but she's broke and agrees. Professor Wong shows Jia the robot in his lab. The scientists disguise her as a He-3. They give her contact lenses, a new wig, and body armor. These lenses will work as cameras to enable the professor and his colleagues monitor the He-3 robot. Lenses may receive text or visual directions. The next day, Jia visits Min-Kyu. She's surprised when he opens the box. She met him while delivering meals. Min-Kyu left without paying, which was terrible. He was avoiding physical touch with her. Min-Kyu phones the lecturer to ask what's happening. Fortunately, the latter says a He-3 has operational and friend mode. In operational mode, she's professional. In friend mode, she's human. Pressing the reset button will switch the robot to operational mode. Min-Kyu quickly believes it and reboots the robot. Min-Kyu tests Jia's once she returns to normal. Jia loses connection to a He-3 when the lab power goes out. Her IQ is 94, thus she must rely on herself. First, Jia must open a box with a complicated mathematical password in 3 minutes. She doesn't know math, so she opens the package, surprising Min-Kyu. She must peel an egg in 10 seconds without equipment. Having worked in eateries, she finishes quickly. Min-Kyu admires the robot's intelligence and creativity. Jia, who's never been smart, smiles. The lab's power returns. They're astonished to witness Jia ranting at Min-Kyu through her spectacles. She says he's perverted. Jia is angry to discover him looking at her enlarged chest. He reaches for her chest to check her power pack. Professor collapses to his knees in fear and can scarcely acknowledge Min-Kyu. Who are you deceiving? Demands Min-Kyu. A He-3's chest swells when he accuses them of using inferior batteries. Hong stutters and says he updated a He-3's battery. He advises Min-Kyu against touching her chest. Min-Kyu takes his pills after hanging up with chokes. Jia pats his back while he convulses on the floor. Min-Kyu comes to and is amazed by the robot. Jia says she can do many things when asked why she aided him without directions. After this, the two make their first physical encounter, but Min-Kyu doesn't respond. Jia returns to the lab at day's conclusion. Professor Hong reprimands her for being exposed. Jia is irritated because she did well. Unappreciated, she storms out. Soon the professor learns that the specific part they requested for a He-3's repair was delivered to Africa and is weeks away. Min-Kyu phones him at that moment and wants a He-3 for a month. He wants to deep learn and totally program the robot. Professor calls Jia again and asks her to masquerade as a robot for weeks. This time he compliments her and offers a higher money, so she agrees. Professor Hong adds that until the true He-3 is fixed, Jia must labor at the mansion and recharge every night. Jia has explosive diarrhea the next day at work. She tries, but farts. Min-Kyu says, "What's that sound?" The robot answers, "You fart, my lord." Soon the scent spreads, so she proposes he change. Since they're alone, gullible Min-Kyu believes her and departs. Ji-ah uses the chance to defecate. Min-Kyu returns early, but the robot is gone. Eventually, he catches her spraying his pricey perfume in the toilet. Min-Kyu doesn't trust Ji-ah since robots can't touch water. She pretends that she's a dishwashing AI. Min-Kyu notices Ji-ah's face before leaving. He attempts to approach her but slips on soap. Instead of protecting Min-Kyu, Ji-ah grabs the scent. Her iron plate hurts his ribs as she lands on him. Ji-ah pulls down Min-15-year-old Kyu's card castle while cleaning that night. Min-Kyu cries in anguish as she watches. Ji-ah claims her battery is at 5% and pretends to be in standby mode. Later, he sees the professor and complains about her blunders, but she encourages him to allow her more time to deep learn. Min-Kyu extends a He3's deadline. The next day, Min-Kyu sees a visitor and advises Ji-ah not to go outdoors. First love Riel. When Riel touches his shoulder, he's horrified. Min-Kyu hides his developing rash from Riel. He then fakes a meeting and hurries home. He stumbles to his off-limits room and grabs the antidote. Weak, he can't grab them. Min-Kyu is battling to breathe when Ji-ah discovers him. The scene then flashes back to Min past. Kyu's before he had a touch allergy. Parents celebrate as Min-Kyu creates his first card house. Dad distracts himself with card tricks as it falls. Everyone celebrates Min's birthday. Kyu's family plays word games on the way home. One of the birthday balloons gets in Dad's face as he rolls down his window, and their automobile is hit by an incoming truck. Min-Kyu wakes up in hospital wailing for his dead parents. Several relatives strive to be his protector during the day. He wants his parents' money. Min-Kyu checks his pockets in the restroom and discovers the message, "Don't sign anything." Yuchul, a friend, gives him an adoption paper later that day. Yuchul says his father sent him and that Min-Kyu should be his brother. Min-Kyu ponders the adoption papers and signs them. Yuchul excitedly holds his friend's hand. Min-Kyu glances down and sees Yuchul's transforming into claws. Min-Kyu rushes away screaming as odd blisters appear where Yuchul touched him. Yuchul gives his father the adoption paperwork after he's finished. The father sees "son of a bitch" instead of Min's signature cues on the last page. He understands the child wants to be left alone. Min-Kyu returns to his deserted house. Since then, he avoids humans. Feeling deceived, he starts hating other people, causing an allergy. As he matures, only his doctor knows about his allergy. Min-Kyu awakens alongside Ji-ah in the present. He tells her he dreamed about backstabbers. He's startled to realize he's completely normal without a mark. He squishes Ji's cheeks, as glad for the injection. Ji-ah and Min-Kyu become closer as their friendship strengthens. Min-Kyu asks her to date Riel. Riel recommends they shake hands as friends after a bad date. Min-Kyu takes her hand, triggering his allergy. Soon he has hard breathing, and by the time he takes his syringe, he's tired of his dismal life. He drops the syringe when his wristwatch beeps faster. Ji-ah calms him down. Minute response cues fades when he sees her, and the monitor returns to normal. Even without the syringe, he seems to have healed. When rounding a corner, Min-Kyu collides with a gardener and falls down. The latter pulls Min-Kyu to check on him, but his allergies don't start. Seeing this, he joins huge crowds for the first time in 15 years. A youngster later brushes Min's hand, cues, but nothing occurs. Then they join a throng to attend an outdoor performance where Min-Kyu leaps when his neighbor waves. His monitor is okay. Min's eyes cues flood with tears as he whispers, "I'm finally cured." After that, he phones Dr. O. When he emotionally confesses that his allergy is gone, a stranger causes his monitor to bleep wildly. When Ji-ah finds Min-Kyu, his heartbeat lowers and his rashes vanish. When a pair covers Min vision, Kyu's his symptoms reappear. Min-Kyu tells Dr. O, "Someone's here. Rashes disappear when I see someone. When I'm alone, the rashes return." Min-Kyu acknowledges tearfully, "It's not a human," as Ji-ah grins and waves. After the call, Min-Kyu hugs Ji-ah and says, "It was because of you." He pledges to purchase her the longest-lasting batteries and says, "Stay with me till I die. You're my greatest treasure." As Ji-ah looks in surprise, the audience cheers, causing Min-Kyu to kiss her forehead. Min-Kyu tells Dr. Oh that he's fine despite having several contacts. He then stands in front of his full-length mirrors and checks his phone. Dr. Oh is surprised that Min-Kyu no longer needs medicine following human interaction. He says it's due of Min-robot cues and labels it a miracle. He tells Min-Kyu to detail everything that's happened since the robot so they can figure out how he was cured. Several tests are undertaken in the following days. All of them say Min-Kyu will be fine with people if Ji-ah is with him. He takes her everywhere he goes and considers her his most precious possession. A He-3 is repaired. It can operate regularly, but will need time to adjust. Professor Hong says a He-3 needs a few more days to deep learn. Ji-ah is saddened by the news. Min-kyu brings Ji-ah to a posh restaurant, but seats her alone. He welcomes Riel and her father. Ji-ah looks on, apparently disturbed. She eventually ignores Min-kyu's and goes on her own. It's long. Min-kyu is safe with Ji-ah until one day that changes. Min-kyu drives at a petrol station while he's alone and unlocks his trunk. Min-kyu is too absorbed to notice when the attendant brushes across his fingertips when returning his card. He remembers he touched the attendant's hand after a few minutes and looks for a rash. Min-kyu discovers nothing, and his monitor shows he's normal, even alone. He sees his doctor. Min-kyu hugs a dumbfounded Dr. Oh and praises him for his 15 years of hard work, signaling he has been healed. Min-kyu tells the doctor that he now understands love when he calms down. Dr. Oh guesses Min-kyu means Riel and that he additionally thank a He-3. He tells Min-kyu he may send a He-3 away, saying she was his first friend in 15 years. Now that he's cured, he can find satisfaction in human companionship. Dr. Oh labels Min-happiness cues a mirage. He wants Min-kyu to feel loved. Depressed Min-kyu tells Professor Hong he loves a He-3 that night. Hong understands Min-obsession cues with the buddy who cured him after 15 years. Professor Wong reminds Min-kyu that a He-3 is a pre-programmed robot. Min-kyu acknowledges he's insane. He pleads with teary eyes for a solution. Wong informs Min-kyu there's one way the next day. He suggests resetting a He-3 so she'll forget and help him go on. Min-kyu is distraught, yet this is his only option. Ji-ah finds out later that day. She finally dresses like a He-3, heartbroken. She next appears at Min residence cues while snow falls outside. After one more walk, he returns to the mansion. Min-kyu informs her that the things he showed her today are elements of her regular existence after 15 years. Min-kyu apologizes and praises her for being his friend and cure. Ji-ah fights back tears as she says she's thankful and apologetic. She hopes he's happy soon. As a tear falls, Min-kyu quietly orders a He-3 into operation mode. After this, he claims he'll reset her, causing Ji-ah to warn him that all of their memories would be lost. Min-kyu continues nonetheless. Before pressing the button, he gives Ji-ah his mother's jewelry. He embraces her, presses the button, and types I love you. Min-kyu sobs as Ji-ah starts the reset countdown and hugs her. She tears up during one. The actual He-3 states that Min folder cues was erased. Min-kyu and Ji-ah weep themselves to sleep that night. Ji-ah cries so hard that she becomes unwell the next morning. She's hospitalized for severe dehydration and is still wearing Min necklace. Cues. Ji-ah travels back home with her grandmother, as Min-kyu prepares for his wedding to Riel. Min-kyu meets a familiar face on the train. Ji-ah is Min-X's robot, cues he believes. They sit close to one another but don't speak. Ji-ah is ordered not to respond to him, and Min-kyu doubts she's a robot. Min-kyu phones Professor Wong to inquire about a He-3's face. Wong admits he based the robot on a friend, copying her features, demeanor, and habits. Wong says Min-kyu can talk to her. He says he shouldn't talk to avoid awkwardness between them. Min-kyu follows her to her grandmother's business and offers to talk. She claims she's busy. Min-kyu is obstinate and will wait for her. Ji-ah rushes into the kitchen to hide her jewelry in a dish. Min-kyu stays for hours. Ji-ah must talk to him. She acknowledges taking Dr. Hong's money 4 years ago to become a character model. Ji-ah tells Min-kyu to leave or she'll contact the police. Min-kyu asks her granny for a room. Ji horror, as the old lady allows him remain the night. In the next days he bonds with grandmother, which reminds Gia of him. Grandma asks Gia to pick up warehouse products one evening. She begs Min-Kyu to join her because it's dark. Gia drives him reluctantly. They glance at one another's faces and recall the past. Gia opens up and they converse till they reach the warehouse. As they pick up the thing, someone shuts the door, unknowing that two persons are still inside. Forced to spend the night inside, their bonds even more. Someone unlocks the warehouse door the next day and finds the pair sleeping together. They return to Grandma's business after waking up to assist cook. Min-Kyu almost sees the jewelry, but Gia covers it. Min-Kyu returns the next day, but Gia has departed. He searches everywhere for her until he finds her at the dock. Gia conceals her jewelry, but it's too late. Min-Kyu begins to recall his last day with the he-3. He's outraged after realizing he was conned. Before he can say anything, his allergy reappears, and the light becomes red. In the final moment, he sinks in despair, with few odds of survival. Part 2. Min-Kyu arrives to the shoreline, where Gia is weeping. Min-Kyu observes the necklace he gave a he-3 when she stands up. This makes him understand Gia is a he-3. Min-Kyu needed to develop trust. He feels deceived by his best friend. His allergies return and he collapses. Gia feels scared and sobs hopelessly. Dr. Hong and his assistant then administer an antibiotic. Min-Kyu is hurried home and hospitalized. Doctors won't let Gia in to explain anything to him. Jinbei, Min-Kyu's helper, visits him. Min-Kyu tells him to sue Hong's Santa Maria team and Gia for duping him. Jinbei fears losing his job and having his allergy information made public. Min-Kyu is steadfast. Jinbei surprises everyone by resigning since Gia is his sister. Jinbei then leaves the Santa Maria lab. Gia provides Min-Kyu sanitary meals, wears safety gear, and visits his house every day. Min-Kyu tosses away meals daily and is chilly. Gia assures him she'll see him every day despite this. Min-Kyu can't stop thinking about her, so he steps outside with his butler. The butler tells Min-Kyu that there are no truthful humans. The next day, Gia is on her way to Min-Kyu's when a youngster arrives out of nowhere and causes a small mishap. Min-Kyu grows restless after several hours without her. Gia arrives at Min-Kyu's place in the evening. Min-Kyu prevents her from leaving after she serves him as usual. He wonders if she did everything to win. Gia responds no and confesses she has plenty to say. Min-Kyu doesn't care, asks whether she's delighted to have tricked him. His shattered glass injures Ji's hand. She apologizes despite her wounded hands. Min-Kyu discovers Ji comics Oz the next day. Ji Pal visits Min-Kyu and informs him he'll soon lose all his valuable presents. She says the Santa Maria crew and Gia will go to Australia. Min-Kyu seems sorrowful, yet he seems indifferent. Later, Min-Kyu meets his Santa Maria teammates at Ji restaurant. Oz friends, he watches them from afar and remembers Ji remarks. Oz friends, Min-Kyu ignores a teammate who sprints towards him as he watches them and drives away. When he comes home, he switches on the TV and discovers 70 stars will fall in an hour. He ignores it and keeps the umbrella inside. He sees another he-3 umbrella. He investigates the umbrella online and discovers it's also produced by Gia. This recalls Gia kissing him under an umbrella. In the following scene, robot he-3 promises Min-Kyu a meteor shower. Min-Kyu then travels to Mount Hwangmi to meet Gia. She arrives and they speak. Gia tells Min-Kyu that he mistook her for a he-3. She says he didn't spend months with a robot. Min-Kyu recalls all the times he thought Gia was a robot. He feels stupid since he can't tell a human from a robot. Gia says she didn't lie about anything else but took food and booze. Min-Kyu wonders what she thought of him as a human. Gia believed he was awful since he didn't pay her back. She felt he was a crazy since he celebrated his robot vacuum's birthday and bragged about his position. She eventually felt terrible for him and wished him happiness. She wanted to please him. Min-Kyu begs her to sit closer and opens her heart. Ji heart Oz flutters on the way to his residence. She reminds him of when he called her his treasure and wanted her forever. Hearing this, she felt engaged. She recalls good memories and how delighted she was when he smiled. Min-Kyu asks if she was terrified, and she responds yes. She recalls when he believed she'd recognize him if he changed. She recognized his remarks were sincere then. Jia informs him that stroking her head made her joyful and thrilled. She says she didn't enjoy it at first, but she'd miss it if he stopped. She remembers when he was intoxicated and wished she was human. She wanted to tell him she wasn't a robot. Min-Kyu wants to rub her head after hearing this, but his allergies prevents him. Jia puts on her sleeve head, takes his hand, and puts it on her head. She apologizes for first hiding the truth. She feared provoking his allergy by telling him the truth. After that, he almost kisses her but stops himself. He then praises her for creating a memory he'll remember forever. Min-Kyu says he'll live with those recollections forever. He returns because he can't touch anybody else. He says farewell and waves. Jia stops him and says he's the one she's been waiting for and the one who's made her feel loved. She acknowledges she needs and loves him. Min-Kyu then kisses her, creating a wonderful scene. Min-Kyu drives Jia to a coffee shop the next morning and feels his allergies returning. Seeing Jia in his automobile restores his sanity. He drops Jia off, happy to see her again. Min-Kyu sees his doctor, who says there is no complete recovery in his situation because the symptoms might leave and recur at any time. A He-3's departure saddens the Santa Maria squad. Martin, a rich and powerful man, discovered out they deceived Min-Kyu and pressured them to return the robot. He wants a He-3 to be a mass destruction weapon. Min-Kyu hurries to the lab when he hears of a He-3's dispatch, but Martin has already departed. Martin unlocks a He-3 in the last scene. His robot is gone, however. A He-3 is spotted trying to get home but doesn't know the way. Turn on notifications, subscribe for more videos like this, then like and comment if you want more. Merci.